Jazz music is the music of freedom, is the music of liberation, is the music of our people. And the more I discover great music, the more it also influences the music that I want to make.
Inspiring the next generation to share their stories through music. Hi, I'm Mandla Mlangeni, and I am a change maker.
As a key member of the acclaimed Mandla Freedom Ensemble, which recently won the 2024 Metro FM Music Award for Best Jazz Album for Oratorio over Forgotten Youth, Mandla Mlangeni shines as a trumpeter, composer, and band leader. The trumpeter has performed globally with top musicians, earning accolades including the 2019 Standard Bank Young Artist Award. His story begins during the anti-apartheid movement.
What are your earliest memories of music?
Well, actually, the earliest memory of music with me is with my father, hunched on his back, going to all the protest marches. I remember that quite vividly, and also remember him marching at Wits for the release Mandela protests.
I don't know if people realize this, but as an outsider watching South Africa, the anti-apartheid struggle was a deeply musical time. Music was such a key part of the resistance in this country.
Song was part of resistance. You hear it in whenever a gathering starts, people either open it up with prayer, song, prayer. And that's one way of actually us unifying in spirit and also identifying what we actually need to do.
So you were formed in the music of the struggle.
Yes.
Here in South Africa.
My mother tells me that when I was born was during the state of emergency in 1986. When that happened, everything in Soweto was just cordoned off. There was a curfew. So I was born during the height of resistance. Just getting out of Soweto just to go to the hospital was a huge mission. And I think that actually also became part of my psyche, the struggle and how I articulate the struggles.
You talk about the impact of losing your dad so young. You're only 4 years old.
Yeah. The story of his death is quite graphic, and it's always, every time I talk about it, I always I feel like I'm losing him again.
They say music has the power to heal your soul. It's an outlet for trapped emotions. How has performing helped you deal with that difficult history?
Making music for me is a way of speaking to myself. It's putting everything, all my reflexes together in actually trying to make something work. It's either my lips, how I focus my breath, and it's how I channel my energies and actually getting the most beautiful sound that I can actually aim to get.
What is the first instrument you played?
The first instrument that I played is the one that I have right here.
This little one here, the
Yes.
recorder.
So there used to be a music program on Sunday called Imizwi Lili. And that's when I saw my first experience of an orchestra. And I saw this great big bunch of musicians playing together. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. How can these people actually synchronize their sound to make something so beautiful? And they were accompanying a choir. And I saw somebody playing a bassoon. And the closest thing that I knew to a bassoon at that time was a recorder.
Right.
And I think the only thing that could get my mother to commit to buying was a recorder.
You've been trying to teach me this for the past few minutes. I have not caught on.
There's about as many holes as
1, 2,
your
3,
fingers.
4, 5. Yeah, there's 5 holes, yeah.
But you're not going to cover all the holes. So you're going to just cover the first hole. And you just support it like this.
Okay.
Good. Good. So now we're going to play the first and the second one.
Okay. Wait, do that again.
Good.
Your first instrument is the voice, and then the recorder, and then to the trumpet.
To the trumpet. My teacher at the time, actually, Ngwane, basically had his whole music school in his car. So I used to attend those classes. And everybody around me was getting all these nice instruments, from saxophone to clarinet to violin. And I wanted to play, a nice instrument, at least saxophone. And I was very into Kenny G at that time. And there was the trumpet in the back of his car. And he just said, I must go get it. And when I saw it, I was like, this thing with just 3 buttons.
Right.
What am I going to do with it? And yeah, that's how my journey with the trumpet started.
Innocent Ngwane Mlangeni's first music teacher was the first to spot the musician's budding talent and introduced him to the trumpet when he was 14. He started referring to him as Satchmo, short for Satchel Mouth, a nickname given to American jazz legend Louis Armstrong because of his large mouth.
I was a bit baffled by his interest in the recorder as opposed to the other instruments. I said, okay, no, that's fine. But after a week with him on the recorder, I said, no, man, you are not someone to sit on the record. I think you are a born trumpeter.
The big idol for me was not only Louis Armstrong, but the father of South African jazz, Hugh Masekela.
Hugh Masekela.
Yes, whom I had the great pleasure of actually meeting and being taught by for a very short time.
He was truly one of the greatest musical stars
Yes.
out of this continent.
Exports.
Much beloved around the world.
And he taught us how to actually tell our own stories in our own ways. And I think that's the greatest lesson that I've learned from him is finding meaningful ways of how we can tell our stories through the music and not trying to be like anybody else, because that would be a disservice to us.